is Daphné Anglès, and I work with the New York Times in the Paris bureau of the New York Times with foreign correspondents. And I'm in charge of managing the bureau and also of helping the picture editors who are in New York choose work, assign photographers, edit work by the photographers who work on assignment for us. We produce pictures that are published in the New York Times daily, the different sections of the New York Times, and the New York Times on the web, and the International Herald Tribune. We have a network of photographers with whom we're in touch all over Europe. Part of my responsibilities and my pleasure is to scout for new talents that could contribute to our pages. I meet photographers in venues like Visa or Arles, Paris. People call me up. They know that there's a New York Times bureau. Either they know my name or they just call up and say, "Hi, I'm a photographer and I want to show you my work." I like meeting photographers because for me, knowing the person, knowing the human being who's behind the photos helps me understand why, how he or she gets to that kind of work. And the relation between an editor and photographer is very important because they will understand who we are, what we need, and I will understand who they are, how they work, how they function, and what kind of things could be interesting for them and, as a consequence, for us. The New York Times website has entirely dedicated photography called Lens Blog. And Lens Blog is work that's not commissioned usually, that people can just send us, that we showcase. The pictures that were submitted to Editor's Choice were extremely varied, geographically and subject matter. The 10 that I chose, I guess, correspond to the way I feel about these photos, and another editor will have a different choice, and that's great. This is a picture that tells the story in an incredible way. I don't even need a caption. I know what it is. We know what it is. It could be this World Cup of this year, it could be any year. This is the picture that tells people, that shows how people live this thing incredibly intensely, and I think it's a wonderful picture. Here's another football picture, completely different. I mean, for me, I actually didn't choose it because it's a football picture. I chose it because my first reaction was, what the hell is this guy doing in the middle of the night playing football? And what is that thing behind? Gosh, it's a mosque. What's going on here? So I admired the photographer's instinct of capturing this moment. And I just kept coming back to it and going, gosh, this is how people live. It's a wonderful, poetic, bizarre moment in the life of this young man or this city. And what it is, in fact, it's a mosque in Istanbul. So there's for me, there's some exoticism about it too. But it's just I really take my hat off to the photographer for capturing that moment in time. What makes this picture come together is those people standing there for me. The volcano, the erupting is absolutely gorgeous. But the fact that they're standing there and they look really close adds a perspective to it. It's a great picture. Apparently this is a volcano which erupted 50 kilometers from Guatemala City. It brings it quite close to home. There's some kind of visual relation between the Madonna, the tree, and the tip of the mountain in the back, which just makes it come together and breathe in a very simple and healthy way. I mean, there's so much context in this picture that one could speak about it for a long time, and I want to know more actually about it. And that brings me to one advice that I'd give a photographer, which is very important for an editor of a newspaper in the news business, is that it's very important when you send pictures, especially when they're singles, to give information, complete information with each single picture. I don't remember if this picture was part of several pictures that were sent on the same subject. I don't think so. But the caption is interesting, but it's not complete. It doesn't give me the location, the country. So I'm supposing that it's Italy, which I think it is. But please, 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 photographers, take the time of captioning each picture and explaining to somebody who's never been to the situation that you photographed, where we are, what's going on, what it is. When I first saw this picture, I went, oh my gosh, this can't be true. Does this happen every day, that these This plane is about to land just off the beach. This is St. Martin, the caption tells me. For me, what makes this picture, apart from the fact that the photographer took his camera and didn't block his ears for the noise, but took his camera and took the picture, is this lady in her bikini who looks so fragile and frail and white and crouching down there as the plane soars past about 10 yards above her. It just encapsulates the moment in an incredible way. You can't not stop at this picture, so bravo to the photographer. This is a picture which was taken during the riots in Bangkok. What makes this picture come together is the soldier who looks like he's just about to pull a trigger on whoever's standing there, in particular the photographer, or me as the viewer. And what also strikes me in this picture, and that is this pure coincidence, is that this soldier looks like a woman. There's something very strange about it, and I think that's why I keep coming back to it. In terms of news reportage, this is a moment that really tells a lot about that situation. You get the soldiers attacking, running, the guy on the ground, the soldier on the ground, some man running past to get away from it all, I guess. Another one running towards the situation, the scene. There's a lot of movement going on here. In the background, there's somebody on his cell phone, probably telling somebody else about, where the soldiers are, whatever. There's a lot going on, and the photographer was able to capture it all in one shot, and that's great. It's a very good picture. This is a completely timeless picture. For me, it's like Edouard Bouba. It's one of those little poetic moments, probably difficult life, or maybe not that difficult. Again, this is an instance where the photographer saw something and captured it. Thanks to the photographer's eye that we are in this, we're looking at this lovely little moment. Here's a picture that was taken in Estonia as what I imagine is part of a reportage on a music school. It's a very simple picture, and what touches me is that this little girl clearly has a lot on her shoulders. She's going to probably play for a class or a competition. She is a little bit worried. She's obviously going to play something which is quite difficult because there are quite a lot of notes on her music sheet. And above her, looming above, is the great musician Bach. And what I like is the composition, the girl, the piano, the portrait of Bach behind, and the plant. There's enough context for me here to imagine what's going on behind me, and that's something which is not easy to convey in a photograph. Everyday life in India. One of the reasons that as an editor I'm attracted to this kind of picture is context. The photographer is, with one moment, tiny little moment in the life of this little boy, telling us about the way he lives, the country he lives in, the conditions in which he lives in, some of his family probably. There's a hand behind the door's about to open or to close. I really welcome pictures like this, which are all about how the photographer has been seeing the scene and is a witness to little moments of somebody's life that tell so much about the bigger picture. This is a picture that is quite extraordinary, I find, because even without reading the caption, one can guess that these people here are off for a long trip, probably a dangerous trip. This is dark, it's evening or dawn, maybe dusk. Reading the caption, I find out that these are Africans who are taking off on a trip from Mauritania to cross probably to the Canary Islands. These immigrants who know the dangers of this trip, who are putting themselves in a dangerous situation in order to have a new life. What is amazing about this is that you don't see the boat. They look like they're standing on the water. You see the motor, I think you see the motor, you see 3 people on the boat. You imagine that this is one of these long boats that we've seen in other reportages. So we know the context, but what the photographer has suggested with this picture is so much more than what we would see if we just saw the boat. In a competition like this or an exercise like this, I think a total of 10 pictures is really maximum. This is an exercise in looking for singles. It's not a reportage, and in one single picture one should be able to get enough essence of what's going on, what it's about, and a great picture. If you send too many pictures, it seems as though you can't decide as a photographer which is your best picture. Get people to help you if you can't edit your work. I understand even the best photographers have trouble editing their work. And whatever you do, don't send two pictures of the same situation which are close because you can't decide. You decide, and be trustful of your decision.